Welcome to my channel, Mixed Media Creations. Hi, it's me, Creative Katie, Karen Burchill. Today we have an art journal tutorial, step-by-step process video, telling you all the inside tips and tricks. If you want to support my channel, you can shop through my Amazon influencer links, or you can click on the PayPal link. Both of these are in the description box below. Want to support my channel another way? Hit the subscribe button. Share this video with your creative friends. Welcome to my channel. This page is entitled Dream, and it's on a cradled wood panel. These cradled wood panels are just wood panels. Now I gessoed this, sanded it down, and gessoed it again and sanded it down to get rid of any marks and things. Now along the side, some of it's imperfect, but I think it's perfect for mixed media because I will be painting the sides and it'll be multitude of colors. And so I'm hoping to hide any of those imperfections and cracks that show through. Now the reason I chose to do on a wood panel, a couple of my artist friends have been raving about them, and they say they're perfect for mixed media because they're a hard surface. And so unlike canvas, they do not give and they can hold whatever you throw at them. So I am putting some music paper. This is old vintage music paper that has been colored over time, and maps. I've discovered that putting maps underneath, I really like when you get some of that peeking through. And actually right there, I actually noticed that it is a map of Vancouver Island where I'm presently living. And so I thought that would be kind of cool to incorporate it into there. So I'm using gel medium and I'm wrapping some of these around the edges. And right there, I'm covering up, there's kind of like almost a gouge, imperfections in wood. Wood is a natural product and that's what you get. So I'm kind of wrapping it around the edge. Now this wood cradle is deep. Not all of them are as deep. And I really like this because with mixed media, I tend to wrap the color and the patterns right around, and that gives me an opportunity to play with that. So I'm just layering this on, and it's really important that you go over the edges, even if you're doing on an art journal page in a flat surface. And everything that I'm doing on a wood panel or on a canvas or an art journal, you can do these on all these surfaces with the same effect. Sometimes you don't have the sides to deal with if you're doing it in an art journal page, and it may require edging of the page at the end. So you can use old notebook, old book paper, pretty much anything underneath here. And know when you're putting this layer on, you will have texture. So I've kind of layered up some of them. I put one on top of another. And in the final piece, you can see that texture that was added to the piece. And I'm just kind of putting it on. I'm not trying to cover the entire area by any means because I know I'm going to be doing some stamping and stuff. But this is collage and it's the beginnings. And somehow, if you get to this level, you'll get ideas about what's coming next. You can use scrapbook paper or collage sheets or gel prints or, pages that were failed pages. You rip them up and they just have a new life when you collage them into a piece. Now, I'm unsure right now which way I'm going to do this. I have no idea where this is going. And so I'm stamping both up and down and side to side. And I'm turning the script stamp so that I'm not limited. And it took me a long time. I haven't figured that out. Here is my swirl stamp, one of my newest stamps. And both of these are good stamps to purchase because they're ones that will work for any kind of project. One of my favorite homemade stamps here is just this shelf liner. And I'm just using archival ink here. You could stamp with acrylic paint with all of these stamps. You just have to make sure you wash the stamps afterwards to get out the acrylic paint and give it some drying time. When you stamp with acrylic paint, you also get a little bit of texture. This is a homemade swirl stamp on an end of a pill bottle. And you just take each of the caps can have a different stamp and you just swap. So you only need one holder. Here's another one. And I'm just stamping. And I'm making sure that I do the edges. I will definitely be making more of these homemade stamps because I absolutely love them, and using it on the pill bottle just works so well. And you can't beat the costs. I'll put a link to the video where I make some of those stamps. So I decide I'm going to go with this coral color, which is the color of Pantone color of 2019. And, you know, everything I'm doing right now, I'm going to actually undo because in my head, I had two different kind of ways of color stories where I was going to go. And I realized in a bit that it didn't work. So you're going to see me basically save a page. Here I'm going in with a darker um, color. It's in there, applying it with a palette knife. And yeah, right about now I'm thinking, oh, I absolutely do not like this. It's just not going with where I want to go. So I'm just removing that very quickly with a baby wipe as much as possible, but I'm kind of stuck with that coral. So I grabbed the three colors of paint that I have, and I have a yellow, an orange. Both of them are just Artist Loft, and they're bright colors, and my deep violet color. And I go back to that plan, and you're going to see me just taking these out of the tube, applying a little bit of water, um, and painting it on with my fingers. Here's a tip, using the yellow somewhere on your pattern, a yellow or a very bright, even if most of it gets covered out and blended out, it just seems to add so much interest to your page. Now again, all the stamping that's underneath, it will add to it. You've got the book paper, you've got the maps, and all those little things kind of shine through the finished product when you're up close and personal with a mixed media piece. You don't always see that on here though. So I like mixing paint right on my canvas or on my surface. And right about now, like I said, I'm absolutely loving working on this cradled wood panel. The hard surface for stamping, you get more precise images. It's just easier. It seems to dry faster than doing it on a canvas. Um, yeah, I'm sold. I absolutely love it. And I will put a link to some canvas wood or wood panels, cradled wood panels, in the description box below, along with any specific materials that I've used. I don't typically put links to the paints. There are links if you go right into my Amazon store and see the pictures, you can see the paints that I use, but for the most part I encourage you to use your own paints. The reason I used archival ink is I want it to be permanent. So that an archival will be permanent and it's not going to reactivate when I put this wet layer on. So now I'm just playing with these colors, adding and blending when it's wet. So I am moving quite quickly, and if it starts drying a little bit more too quickly, I'm spraying it with a little bit of water to keep it wet. You can use open acrylics like Golden Open, and it stays open a lot longer so that you can work it. I don't have those. I'm contemplating working with them, thinking that maybe that will, because I like the blending in here. Now, you know, this color combination, this violet color with the yellow and the orange. It just, oh, I see it in other people's art and I just absolutely love it. And, I'm not trying to make this all one tone. You want to build interest in what you're doing. Here I'm spreading some gold on my craft mat and coming in with the um, script stamp, another really necessary basic stamp if you're building your arsenal that you'll get tons and tons of use of. And this one is a little bit larger. You saw me cleaning it up. It kind of smudged a little bit. I didn't quite get enough on there. It just didn't look right. So if you're fast and everything underneath is permanent, you can wipe it off with a baby wipe. So just making sure that I do the edges. And it really is easier to do it as you go as opposed to coming back. If you don't like doing the edges, you can just paint the edges black, but the imperfections that are there may show up. So this is a retro burst stencil from Crafter's Workshop, and I'm just using some gold paint here with a makeup sponge and just kind of, I don't want it the full size because it's too big of a scale for the size of my wood panel, which is 9 by 12. So I'm just doing a little bit in the middle, and everyone is different, and I love that. And because it's acrylic paint, there's a little bit of um, texture that comes out. Now I'm deciding that, I need a little bit of black here. So I'm trying to get them smaller than the gold. Alternatively, you could have gone with white here. Now, at this point, I think I know that I want to create a dream catcher on here. And I know I'm going to be using texture paste. So because I want that focal point to stand out, I'm thinking about what I'm adding to the background. So I'm not adding texture paste to give me texture on this background. And I'm doing the sides as well. This stencil is the center part of the Rosetta stencil, and I cut it apart because I tend to use this separately a lot, and I just found it easier to use. So what I'm using here is Bead Glass Gel. Now this is a golden product, and there's little beads in there. Now while this is coming on white, it will dry clear and glossy. This is the first time I'm actually using this in a project, and you're going to, because it's clear and shiny and you get those beads, if you have color underneath it, the color will shine through. So here I'm using the Crafter's Workshop light and fluffy modeling paste, and I'm just putting that around. So the center part, you're going to see the pattern and there's going to be texture and shimmer, but it will be clear, and the circle around it is going to stay white or whatever color you paint it. And at this time I was thinking it was going to end up being black, which is the typical way I go. Spoiler alert, I change my mind. The page evolves. So after I take off the stencil, I'm just cleaning off places where I don't want the modeling paste to go. And I'm really liking the look of that, and I like the contrast between the white and the darker background. Now the glass bead gel, that's something, the beads, I do not want that going down down the sink or whatever, so I'm being very careful to clean it off and to make sure that it doesn't end up, going down the drain. So I apply it to another paper. Here I'm using the 6x6 peacock feathers. This is one stencil that I have both the larger and the smaller version of it. Now, I'm thinking I want to have some of these dark feathers underneath and then lighter ones above. These black ones right here and what I'm putting on, I'm really not liking what I'm seeing. they're not showing up enough with the darker background that I have, and they're not giving the effect that I want. And after I put this on, I'm just really kicking myself because I'm thinking, oh, and it's too late. I know I can't remove it because I didn't act fast enough, without damaging. Thinking I might put another one here to have it kind of wrap around, but yeah, I'm really looking at it. I'm not happy, and that happens. So I just decide, you know what, I'm going to leave that there, and I'm going to put this with the texture paste. I'm using texture paste through the stencil, more modeling paste, light and fluffy modeling paste, and I'm putting it through the stencil. Now this is pretty fine, and this stencil's beat up a little bit, so it's not exact, doesn't come out exactly perfect. Now right here I'm happy because I'm really liking the contrast. We've got the dark background and the white. It just really making it pop. So my idea of turning this and making these either gold or black is pretty much gone out the window right now. You kind of change what you're doing as it evolves. And I flip the stencil. That's one way of getting a different orientation. And of course, when you use modeling paste or gel medium through these stencils, you have to clean them right away. So now I place the stencils back on, and I'm just sponging on Shimmery Goodness. This is Crafter's Workshop. Now I could use iridescent medium here, and Shimmery Goodness is kind of like that, but it has this pearlized, almost a golden undertone to it that I thought I would work better with the page. So I'm just sponging this on, trying really hard not to get it onto the wood surface. And if you're really unsure about that, you can kind of tape it off or mask off the area underneath where you don't want it to go. Because here I got it a little bit on the wood, and anything that has shimmer, like gold paint or silver paint or iridescent stuff, it's really hard to completely remove if it gets on where you don't want it. And I'm doing the same to the feathers. I want this to have that extra shimmer. And you can see at the middle of that circle at the top with the Rosetta stencil, it's drying. It's not completely dry yet because you can still see some white, but you see the pattern, but it's not white. And I really like having that difference. So while you see me using stencils a lot in building a background, here I'm using the stencils to make the focal point. And you're really not able to pick up the shimmer that's there. And again, the light and the shimmery goodness, the light and fluffy modeling paste, I'll put links to all that in the description box. And thank you so much for shopping through my Amazon store. Now I cut out the word dream with my Silhouette Cameo, and I believe this font is Beyond the Mountain, and it's one of my favorites. And I'm just using the light and fluffy modeling paste here and putting it through. Now I'm just using like um, binder dividers here, and it's not quite as thick as the Crafter's Workshop stencils or the typical stencil, so you have to fuss a little bit and make sure that it doesn't move, but if you're careful. So once that dries, and I put it on rather thick, so I did give it overnight, I'm coming in with the shimmery goodness and just making this shine as well. I toyed with the idea of making this black. I toyed with it making it gold. In fact, I painted it gold beforehand and then painted white on top because it really needed to be white. Thank you so much for watching. Give me a thumbs up, like the video. That lets YouTube know that you're watching. Here are some close-ups. You can see a little bit of that shimmer and shine. I hope you give cradled wood panels a try. I really enjoyed it and I definitely be using it in more of my art. Here's the completely dried bell or gel bead. I'm loving that. I'm anxious to play with it a little bit more and see what I can do with it. And you have to experiment with that. There you can see it again. And it's just, it just adds a little something something to your page. Again, thank you so much. Happy creating.